Hello, my name is Angel and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about my recent, not so recent reads. So from summer, June on, I haven't done a wrap-up video since, I don't even know, I guess I did one in May. I think I did one in May. I wanted to give you a wrap-up of all the books that I've been able to read. Some of these you've seen in reading vlogs, some of these you haven't. This will be a challenge to see how much I can remember about a book. I did take some notes. I had to write out every book that I had read since June, so I was going off of Storygraph for that. Without further ado, let's talk about the books I've read recently. Right, so this is my little notebook where I keep my video ideas and a list of books I've bought recently because I do forget when I go to do my hauls, and it's nice to have something to reference. And then I've also put recent reads from June to November. First one is Genderqueer by Maya Kobabe. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. This is, I'm going to set this down, I can't hold both. This is a personal memoir exploring Air's identity. It's a coming-of-age story, a very vulnerable story talking about pronouns and understanding your gender and your sexuality. A big and difficult part of adolescence and adulthood, especially if you don't have family, friends, a society supporting you. This was a very brave, oftentimes uncomfortable read, but I am very glad that I read it. It takes like I said, a very brave person to write a book about such taboo topics, and of course this book has been banned. You'll see this on all kinds of banned book lists. It has won the Stonewall Honor Book Award, and I can definitely see why. I believe this book would be so helpful to people struggling with their gender identity, or just for people who don't feel like they fit in. This book is going to show you that we're all human, we have our struggles, more questions than there are answers, and the guide we're given, which is very binary, is not how the world actually is. Yes, a very uncomfortable but moving and important read. Next, I read The London Seance Society by Sarah Penner. This is a murder mystery. We've got a sapphic romance. Of course, London, we're infiltrating a seance society, and the murder is very close to our main character, Lena, because it was her sister, and her sister had this fascination with spiritualism and seances, which Lena herself was skeptical of. And what happens? Her sister is sadly murdered, and Lena is working with the most renowned spiritualists to find out what happened. I love that it opens with the 7 stages of a seance. So you know how to open, how it's supposed to go, how to end it if things go wrong. I really enjoyed the atmosphere, the vibes, the descriptions. First sentence is very indicative of this. It says, "At an abandoned chateau on the wooded outskirts of Paris, a dark seance was about to take place." If that doesn't hook you. Unfortunately, I did have some issues with the pacing. Granted, I did start this book while I was still in a sad mood, so I was reading a lot slower than I typically do, and that kind of made the whodunit part of it drag for me. I wasn't surprised. I don't want to say obvious because that sounds rude. It makes sense what happened and why it happened, but I feel like if you notice, I guess if you are like noticing the details and constantly thinking about what happened, which you typically are in a murder mystery, you're likely to guess this one. So that's why I would really emphasize vibes over plot with this one if you are interested in picking it up. I do enjoy Sarah Penner's voice, her writing style. With my ranking of her books, I would put The Lost Apothecary first, this one, and then her short story, The Conjurer's Wife. I have not read The Amalfi Curse. Is that the one that just came out? I haven't read that one yet. I will get to it. I do enjoy this author. Vibes over plot with this one. 3 out of 5 stars. Next is My Contrary Mary by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jodi Meadows. This is the unofficial sequel to My Lady Jane. We have the Janies series, follows historical figures named Jane, and then the Marys following historical figures named Mary. And the whole point of these series is to give these women happy endings. They did not get happy endings in their real life, and now it's their turn to get a happy ending. And with this one, it is Mary, Queen of Scots. If you are like me and you really enjoyed the CW show Reign, I would highly recommend reading this book, but I would recommend reading it after My Lady Jane. Love My Lady Jane. Such a good story, and that one follows Lady Jane Grey. The reason why this one is the unofficial sequel is because it takes place in the same time period with the same fantastical elements that My Lady Jane had. So in My Lady Jane, you have the political climate is described as Ethians versus Verities. Ethians are people who turn into animals, and then Verities don't. So Verities try to have this moral upper ground where they think that by divine right, they're normal basically, and that Ethians are freaks of nature and immoral and don't belong. So there's basically a war going on with that, which continues into My Contrary Mary because the timelines overlap. These books are so funny and so heartfelt. I love all of the characters and the friendships. The romantic relationships are also very well done and will have you giggling and kicking your feet. I really enjoyed tabbing this one for moments that I laughed out loud at or moments that I just thought were so cute. And we do get a sapphic romance in this one as well. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read The Pale Horseman by Bernard Cornwell. This is the second in the Saxon Tales series following Uhtred of Bebbanburg. Uhtred has a bit of an identity crisis. He is born Saxon, but then overtaken by Danes and raised by Danes. And something happens there and he is back in the Saxon world. We are seeing him struggle with this and not knowing, if either side is completely right because there's a lot of nuance. And he's seeing a lot of death, having Christianity kind of forced down his throat. Really enjoyed this installment because we see a lot of battle scenes, a lot of character development, and Cornwell does a great job with battle scenes. Sometimes I feel so confused, like I have no clue what's happening, but not with Cornwell. Great writing, and I cannot wait to continue Uhtred's story. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. Unfortunately, this next book I did not like. It was so disappointing. It is Lucy Undying by Kiersten White. Still love the cover, but not for the book that you get. And that sounds harsh, but I had such high hopes for this one and it just didn't deliver. I enjoyed the first half, but then it's like it switches and we get a very cringe realization, I guess you could call it, and I just did not enjoy the book after that, unfortunately. It's also technically a Dracula novel because we are having Lucy's story retold, and unfortunately I wish that maybe Kiersten White could have done a completely original story or with some elements of this, or done strictly a Lucy retelling without. I'm not sure. I kind of wish it would have just been an original vampire story with the twist that we get in this one, because I don't think it's a spoiler to say that our main character Iris, her mother has basically ran this MLM empire, and Iris is inheriting it. At the start of the story, her mother is dead and Iris wants no part of this MLM. We're slowly getting information about their relationship and also what the MLM looked like. It didn't feel spooky enough to be a vampire story. I didn't like the portrayal. I did not like the portrayal of Dracula. I feel like I am a feminist, so I say this with all, care and respect, but I just felt like the feminism was very on the nose, and if it doubted the intelligence of the readers to come to their own conclusions. So unfortunately, not for me. I did enjoy the first half though, so I gave this one 2 out of 5 stars. Now we have a classic children's historical fiction. This is The Witch of Blackbird Pond by Elizabeth George Spear. This is set in Puritan, Connecticut. So, as you may assume, the witch is not the witch you get in folklore. It's a woman who doesn't fit into the society, to the puritanical lifestyle, and who is being labeled as a witch. Our main character is Kit. She is a teenager whose grandfather has just passed away, and the only family she knows of lives in Connecticut, so she book's passage as if her family knows she's arriving, and gets there. Of course, once she gets there, it's nothing like she thought it would be. Her aunt doesn't look like she remembered her, and she quickly realizes that the life she had back on Barbados, where everything was done for her because her grandfather had unfortunately amassed his fortune through plantations, that's not going to cut it in Connecticut. Her family over here is poor and they have to do everything themselves. And then there's the threat of being called a witch and being tried for being a witch. I enjoyed this story, the writing. It definitely felt like a classic children's book, so it was easy to read and it was immersive. I enjoyed the themes of friendship and being brave and standing up for what is right, even if it could cost you your life. Unfortunately, witch hunts are so common and going on to this day. Still a relevant read that you can apply to today. Then I read a new favorite, Old School by Tobias Wolff. Is a lovingly told story. We have an unnamed narrator, and through research after reading the book, it seems like this is unofficially Tobias Wolff's memoir. The boy is attending an elite prep school. The year is 1960, and his school hosts 3 writing competitions a year. They bring in very well-known authors to judge the student body's work. They pick a winner. Whoever wins gets an audience with this author, which would be amazing, especially for an aspiring writer. But it really pits these kids against these boys against each other, and it puts a lot of pressure on them to the point where some of them aren't even able to write. It also reveals how, at the end of the day, the writers we admire are humans and they're not perfect. The narrator does something he shouldn't have done, and then you see the consequences of that. But it's a very empathetic and literary story. If you love stories, if you love analysis, if you're like me and you went to school for English literature and you feel kind of a void in your life, I think this book would fill it for you. A lot of references to the literary canon that you would have studied, and it's so nice to be back in that world just to catch glimpses of it from the perspective of a student. Really loved this story, and it made me want to write. Highly recommend. At this point, we're in fall, so I wanted to continue going down the road of New England prep school, dark academia. So I read The Secret History by Donna Tartt, and as you can see, I have tabbed this thing up. I have annotated it. This one definitely is more thrillery and creepy. Unsettling. None of the characters are likable. We are following Richard. He's an unreliable narrator. He's from California. He's attending this elite school in New England, and he feels out of place. He wants to belong, which really drives him to do things he should not do. No one should do. And he is immediately intrigued by this group, this mysterious group, because they all have this one professor and they don't take any other classes. It's all led by this professor. And his introduction to this is him telling his advisor at the time that he would like to continue his Greek studies. His advisor tells him, sorry, no can do. Greek professor is very selective, and he has the students he would like. So I don't think you should do that. Of course, Richard will do anything to become a part of this group. Another interesting aspect of this story is it's not a whodunit, it's a whydunit. So we know who murdered who in the beginning, which is so interesting. And you may wonder, how would I want to keep reading if I already know who did it? And that's where Donna Tartt's excellent writing comes in. Won't want to put this one down. Tartt is an excellent writer, and I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I didn't read physically, I read it electronically, and that is The Butcher of the Forest. This is a dark fairy tale with lavish prose. It's a novella, so very short. You can read it in one sitting. Being a novella, I was worried that I wouldn't develop a relationship with the characters, that I wouldn't care what happened, which oftentimes unfortunately does happen for me. But I found the story to be very good at developing a relationship between the main character and me, the reader. I was rooting for her. She's given an impossible task to go rescue the tyrant's children from this dark forest. She has previous experience with this forest, which is why she was put on the spot and basically forced to do this. There was no alternative. She So you're seeing how her past experience informs this one, but at the end of the day, it seems impossible to do. Chilling descriptions and a great ending. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. If you've watched my past few videos, you are 100% expecting this book to come up because I will not stop talking about it. That is The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, a new favorite, no notes. This is brilliant writing. This has amazing atmosphere, characters, events. It's a brilliant haunted house story that can be read multiple times. It's ambiguous. You have an unreliable narrator. So many avenues you can take to analyze this story. For example, the relationship between Eleanor and Theodora. What's going on there? I don't know why I didn't expect it to be a new favorite. I thought it would just be kind of scary, but it's so much more than that. It's such an interior story, and I didn't want to put it down, but I was also scared, so it was just one of those things where you can't look away. You just keep watching. You can't look away even though you are scared of what you're going to see. I would highly, highly recommend this one, and I'm definitely going to get myself a special edition copy. Then I finished an audiobook, Jane Austen at Home. This is such a lovely audiobook. It's a biography of Jane Austen framed around the places she's lived, and I love that frame. It increased the emotional impact, which I feel like I don't really expect from a biography to be so emotionally invested. This one I picked up because the author, Lucy Worsley, she reads it herself, and you can tell how much she loves Austen's work. It really shines through, and I love getting to hear all the details we know about Austen's life and opinions on the things we don't know. But my favorite thing would be the emotional connection that Worsley was able to form between the reader and Jane Austen. And by the end, when Jane Austen passed away, I was crying. I didn't expect it to hit me that hard, but that just shows how well Worsley told this story. And finally, I read another Shirley Jackson. I read We Have Always Lived in the Castle. This one is following a strange family, the Blackwood family, and their house. Again, unreliable narrators, creepy events, and mob mentality, unsettling, all staples of Jackson's writing. And this cover does an excellent job of showing that. So yeah, the family is strange, the house is strange, they're pretty isolated, and we don't know what happened, but we know that the villagers do not like them and that they think they're a murderer in the family. So you're wondering, excuse me, did a murder happen? Is there a murderer in this house? I recently rewatched Grey Gardens. I don't know if any of you have seen it, but there's a part in there where little Edie is talking about people coming and staring at their house, which is, if you know, a run-down house, not taken care of, not livable, and they were going to be forced out of it. And that, just her describing people coming by and staring just made me think of this story. And isn't that it's just creepy to think of people spying on you and trying to get into your life. Really enjoyed this one. We'll continue reading Shirley Jackson and rereading Shirley Jackson. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. All right, these are all the books that I've read recently. I hope you enjoyed hearing my wrap up. I definitely feel weird doing a wrap up instead of just giving you updates in a vlog, but really enjoyed this, and now I can say that I have talked about every book that I have read recently. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.